He was being a bit weird yesterday, so I'm not surprised he was giving you a hard time this morning. There we go. Should be good now. It's good to see you. You're looking very festive today. I love it.
Thank you, Lara. I guess I should say top of the morning, since that's what people recognize me as. Yeah, that's the top of the morning guy.
Oh, I love it. I am very excited about today. I get to just relax and bake cookies and have tea with Siddhartha at 1 o'clock. That'll be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very relaxing day. That's one of the best things about Christmas is how once everything is done, then you can just chill.
Yes, breakfast is a bit of an institution at our house. I think I mentioned that before. And so we just had a spread of poached eggs that are well seasoned with sourdough toast and hollandaise, right? So it was amazing.
Nice. Love that.
Best way to start Christmas Eve morning.
My favorite breakfast for Christmas is actually Boxing Day. I love Bubble and Squeak. You probably don't know what that is, though, do you?
No. Tell me about it. What is it?
Something I learned in England. They take all their roast veggies from the night before, from Christmas dinner, all the leftovers, and they mush them all together into a pancake, and they fry them up. They're like veggie pancakes the next day. Any Brits listening, they know what I'm talking about. Bubble and Squeak. It's my favorite thing.
That sounds great.
It is. It's really, really good, actually. Yep. I love it. But yeah, to be honest, like most of the time, Christmas is just pretty chill. Aiden and I, it's just us. So we don't have a whole lot to do. Just bake cookies and wrap presents. What about you guys? Anybody else have anything interesting going on for Christmas? Anybody traveling for Christmas? Because that's always been a thing, huh? That's how the original Christmas started, with travel. I mean, going for the census.
Seems like everybody's going somewhere.
I'm just saying, the original Christmas, they talk about how Yeshua was born while traveling.
Yeah, boy, that's a story. And what better way to talk about that?
They gave him frankincense and myrrh, which are used for protection. In fact, you know what? I'm even going to light some frankincense. My wonderful friend from Dubai sent me a big baggie of frankincense, so I'm going to light some frankincense just in the spirit of Yeshua this morning.
Light it up. That sounds wonderful.
I have some myrrh as well, actually. Hang on a second. I have frankincense and myrrh.
I don't know if you're able to. Am I able to share a screen on this? There's a present button.
Probably. Yes, I can. I can share screens. You want to share a screen?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, it looks like I can share a screen.
You can indeed. Here, we'll do it this way. If I hit that button, now you can share screen.
All right. Share screen. Share screen. Okay. Screen is sharing.
Okay. Get it? Is it working?
Yeah. Almost. Let's do this window.
Frankincense is a bit weird. For those of you who are unaware of what I'm even talking about, I'll show you what frankincense looks like. So it is a tree resin. That is frankincense. And what you do is you take a special burner like this one that I've got. And you need the special charcoal tube. You don't really want to breathe this in, actually. So this is probably not the best time for me to do this when I don't have my window open. But you light the charcoal at the bottom. And as you light it, you'll notice it starts to, come on.
So festive.
Yeah, I know, right? This is for Yeshua we're doing this, right?
That's right.
I wonder who originally did this. I imagine this wasn't originally a Christian thing. So as you guys can see, look, the charcoal starts to spark. See, isn't that nifty?
Wow, look at that.
Right? Isn't that cool?
It is cool. I've never seen that. That's amazing.
Little sparklies. And then when it gets nice and hot, you'll see. See, it starts to heat up right there, you see?
Amazing.
You don't want to be breathing this in. This is me not doing smart right now. You don't want to breathe this in. You want to have this outside when you light the charcoal. Aaron Saniva gave me a lot of shit for this. For lighting it indoors. You're supposed to light it outside, but that's fine.
You're not going to set the smoke alarm off, are you?
So I was gonna say you get a little high off of it, not in the way you want. So you take the frankincense and you just simply drop it on top.
That's incredible.
And you'll notice it will start to smoke quite well. There's a little myrrh on there as well. You see the darker one that is myrrh. So there you go. Happy birthday, Jesus. It starts to smoke really good, as you can see. And you'll notice in a few minutes, like if you don't want it to last too long, you can actually put one of these over the top, and it tends to ignite. You know, it goes out a little bit faster sometimes. But yeah, that's a little, and it smells amazing. Just for the record, for those of you who have never burned frankincense, it's one of my favorite smells. I also have some copal here. Copal is also considered a very sacred tree resin. So, and then you have benzoin. There's also some benzoin here. So there's all kinds of different sacred tree resins that people burn for all kinds of. I love how Lindsay says it's the little things. Exactly, Lindsay. It makes you happy, these little things.
If anyone's ever read, and I don't know if anyone here has, but if you've ever read the Arabic infancy gospel of the Savior, it goes through the story of Yeshua's birth. And one of the things that stands out right away is that there was no manger. Because all these people with manger scenes, right? He was born in a cave. And if you see on the screen here, I'm not going to go through all of it, but it talks about being born in a cave. You know, here, and then he was circumcised in a cave. You know, so he was born in a cave. Now maybe they had, you know, horse stalls inside the cave, but it was a cave, right? So just a minor detail, and it's kind of weird how I guess we adapt these and change these stories over time. But yeah, that's Arabic infancy gospel of the Savior. He was born in a cave, and you were mentioning traveling. Go ahead there. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
Well, they said originally there was a census. They were calling everyone to do a census. Here we go. Add to stage. Bam. There we go.
Yeah.
Is that better? Which one is better? This one? No, that one's definitely not better. This one's better. Okay. There we go. Can't see screen yet. Jennifer, can you see it now? Is it working now?
I see it. Hopefully everyone can see it.
Sweet. Oh, that's cool.
So this was just interesting stuff. I was piecing together on Google Maps the different places that Yeshua had been. And I, you know, consulted some books in the Gnostic text.
I don't see Japan on the list.
Not yet. This is an ongoing thing.
I'm getting out of myself. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I got, you know, Jesus in the Essenes here. There's pins marked on the map where we traveled there. And then there's stuff I've researched in some of the Gnostic texts online. And you can see he's, you know, of course he was born around the Middle East where my mouse is circling, right? But he went up as far as England. You know, we learned in Jesus in the Essenes.
Mm-hmm.
He traveled there with his uncle, Joseph of Arimathea, who was a tin merchant. And he would go with his uncle. And while he's there, he would learn the mysteries from the Druids and the pagans, right? So that's why Joseph took him with him, to learn from all these different masters, right? Little known thing. And then, of course, you see, of course, his journeys into India and the Himalayas.
Yes, that's when it gets good. That's when the story gets real interesting.
Just the miles covered. You see 11,780 miles if you're flying like a bird. You know?
Yeah, I was saying. He was taking the Sandal Express.
Yeah.
That whole way. Even in the cold, going to England. I bet you he didn't spend too much time in the UK. He was like, nope, this is a bit cold for me. I think I'm going south again.
Some of the things that he learned while he was in India, for example, this might resonate with you, Lara. This is from the Legend of Saint Isa. For those who don't understand the Legend of Saint Isa, it was a book left out of the Bible, discovered years later. It tells of his travels in mostly India and modern day Pakistan and the things that he learned there. right? And right here where I have it highlighted, it says they meaning the teachers at India and Pakistan, taught him to read and understand the Vedas, which are, my understanding, Buddhist, Hindu holy texts, right? Taught him to read and understand the Vedas, to cure by aid of prayer, to teach, to explain the holy scriptures to people, and to drive out evil spirits from the bodies of men, restoring them unto their sanity. He was an SRT practitioner.
Shit, I was muted. I remember that one scene from school when they talked about how he drove the evil spirits into the pigs, and then the pigs drove off the cliff or something like that. Yeah, I remember that. Poor pigs.
But when I came across this, I was like, wow, Lara and Yeshua would have something in common here.
I bet you he's still driving things away. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to stumble upon him at some point in the future. Somebody that can channel him, or somebody that is, connected to him energetically. We're already connected to Mary Magdalene through Katie Jordan. So this is another one of the reasons why so many of us can feel the connection to them, as we were around. He had people that would follow him. People would learn from him back in the day. And, that's why there's certain things that really do resonate from his story, even though obviously it's been deified and, what's the word? Exaggerated a little, I guess, the way of putting it.
Yeah. And that's all man. When we're talking about that, like, there's studies of just in the modern era, when World War II cargo jets would need to land on an island in the South Pacific, there were native tribes there. You're talking the 1940s. And these tribes would instantly deify the pilots of the cargo planes, thinking they were gods. And they started making model planes out of wood and dressing like aircraft. Like, this is just something humans do. It's part of our nature. We deify that which, for whatever reason, is many years more advanced than we are.
Well, if you look at the elongated skulls that people had back in the day, and how they would even try to mimic it with leather and boards, and they would even try and make their own heads misshapen to match that of the gods. I mean, we would do things like that all the time in order to kind of honor them in a way, but also to copy them because we wanted to be like them, of course.
100%. 100%. Monkey see, monkey do. And if anyone wonders, why haven't ETs landed yet? Well, how many times did Yeshua himself, in even just the Christian text, when people were kneeling and bowing to him, he'd say, "Get up." He doesn't. He does not want to be deified. These ETs don't want to be deified.
Yep. Well, we always anthropomorphize things too. We've done that with God. We always anthropomorphize, like to give things human features, so it makes it more close to us, more understandable to us. But in a way, I look at us, each one of us is basically like a disassociation from God. We may not realize we are God, but we've chosen to take this certain form and then forget all of our divine connection and to learn more about ourselves by being, disconnected from ourselves. It's like we focus on the micro by ignoring the macro,
Right. We dove into the details in each of our lives. We're failing to see the larger picture for the smaller one.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't know if people can see the screen, Lara. Can they see the screen or not?
Oh, it disappeared somehow. Hold on. There we go. Now it's there.
I changed it.
There we go. And what do we have here? Far
be it for me to have you guys look at a flowchart on December 24th of all days. But I just want to talk to you about the top of this chart. This is what you learn is sort of the structure of reality in the Gnostic wisdom. This is what Yeshua gave to Judas in the Gospel of Judas. He didn't give them this flowchart. He verbally explained it. That's a complicated thing to explain. So instead, I have a flowchart to try and make things easy. And without getting into too much of the details here, the source, what we call the source in the Gnostic text, is called the One, up here at the top where this yellow star is. So that was the very first thing that existed, right? The source. That makes sense. I think that resonates with everybody here, right? People understand when you say the source, we're talking about big G God, not some little g demigod who's flooding the world or destroying cities. We're talking about big G, right? So let's just get that out there. That is who's at the top of the flow chart, right?
Yes.
At one point, he said, it's not even a he, but Source said, I want to know what myself is like. What am I like? How can I experience myself if I'm just me? Right? What a conundrum to be in. There's only you. How do you experience yourself? Well, you make a clone of yourself. And so he created this divine female entity called Barbelo, which was an exact copy of himself. Right? And then the two of them reproduce, and then you get this one here. It's as far as I'm going to go today. The anointed, self-conceived God. This was the offspring of the two that came before. So you've got two source entities reproducing and creating this entity in the Gnostic wisdom. This entity, the anointed, the self-conceived God, they call him self-conceived because he sprung into existence and, he realized his divine lineage. And so that's why they call him the self-conceived God, because he was smart enough to figure it out.
He was like, oh shit, I'm God. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rest of this chart below, now we're coming down into the 12D, 11D, 10D. We're going all the way down into 3D. In fact, you don't get down into human flesh until you get, first of all, to our universe. Our universe exists below this line. We're still not in the human flesh here. We don't get down to human flesh until we get to flesh Adam and flesh Eve. So you see how far removed we down here, limited in our experience, are from the top.
Bottom of the totem pole, so to speak.
Yeah. The reason why there's yellow stars is because this is like a chutes and ladders. So if you start down here at flesh Adam and flesh Eve's level, which we're not even there yet, right? They were so much more advanced physically, mentally, perhaps spiritually and emotionally than we are today. But once you start at flesh Adam and flesh Eve's level, then you can gradually go up the ladder in consciousness and ascend the ladder of wisdom until you get all the way back up to source. When we talk about going back to source, we're talking about a chutes and ladders game. We're talking about expanding in consciousness and eventually journeying back there to the top of the flow chart. That's it. That's how this works in the Gnostic texts.
So for those of us who have never seen this chart before, I'm just wondering how it goes back up to the top there when it rolled down there just a minute ago. That part. Yeah, but what is that? Yal the Boff?
Yal the Boff.
Yal the Boff.
He's perhaps the most tragic story in all this. So the drama between Sophia and Yal the Boff.
We are ironically going to talk more about the Sophia thing on Thursday because Aaron is going to discuss the whole divine feminine aspect of all of this, which is interesting.
Yes.
So I love how, this is all tying in together because, yes, the Sophia is the Mary Magdalene energy that she's connected to.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always wondered if Mary Magdalene and Yeshua were kind of like twin flames because everything has got a male and female counterpart.
It's amazing you say that just because just a few days ago I attended I don't know if you're familiar with Carissa Schumacher. She channels Yeshua, and then there's one of her colleagues that channels Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and the two of them are like the divine masculine and feminine. It's a very Gnostic thing, and so it was very interesting channeling. But to your point, Yal the Boff is simultaneously kind of the hero, but it's not hero, but the villain, but someone who you can easily sympathize with. Because when all Sophia was trying to do in her early days, she was trying to be a creator like everyone that came before her. Everyone before her was creating. And so Sophia was trying to create just like her ancestors had. And so she created this universe. And then within this universe, she created her son named Yal the Boff. Problem was, when she created Yal the Boff, she was ashamed of him. He seemed to be lacking the Holy Spirit, as the Bible would say, or he seemed to be lacking a certain amount of source energy, right? Well, he was confined to one universe for starters. So that's that. So he was cut off from some of the source energy, unlike she and her ancestors. But Sophia's great error in the beginning was she created Yal the Boff. Again, this is in the Gnostic texts. But then she was ashamed of him and didn't even let him know that she existed. Never even said, "Hi, I'm your mom." Right? So if you're Yal the Boff and you just spring into existence and you look around, you're like John Travolta in that meme.
Wow.
You think you're God, right? Because there's literally nothing else in this universe but you at that point. Your own mother isn't even telling you, "Hi, I'm your mom." She's not revealing her presence to you. And so you just spring into existence and you think you're God. I think we can kind of understand why he at least mistakenly thought he was God, at least in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Yal the Boff then, like everyone who came before him, decided to create. And so he does all this stuff. He starts creating spirits and demons and planets, galaxies, and yada, 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 right? Because he's got a sandbox to play in. So he wants to fill it up with something because it was empty. So he starts populating the universe. Sophia was watching this. And Sophia, at one point, repented and asked help from on high. And who answered the help to come and help Sophia with her creation, to bring the divine source energy into her creation, to help Sophia get back on the right track. Who helped but the self-conceived God, the anointed? This is the Yeshua energy. This is literally the Son. When you talk about the Son of God, you're talking about the Son of the one in Barbelo. It's not, this is the energy that Yeshua was channeling, right?
Okay.
But during this time, at the creation of the universe, he agreed to come into Sophia's universe and help get the universe on track, bring more source energy into it, bring more of the divine. And there's a whole story on how he does that. It has a lot to do with the tree of life, the knowledge of good and evil, the Garden of Eden and things. And it really upturns a lot of our understanding of Genesis. But when you kind of think about it, this story makes so much more sense. And essentially, we are a science project gone wrong. But at least our creator said, "Hey, I need help with this, guys. I made this thing and it's kind of going out of control. Can I get some help?" And then in comes more of the source energy. That's the Gnostic wisdom. That's at least that's the story of our creation.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah, I'm reading the comments here. Yeah. I want to do a whole video series on this one day, but there's so much here. I don't even know how I would do this without it being so long and obtuse. I've been really wrestling with it. How do I break this up into small digestible chunks?
Well, what's interesting is so many of these similar names we see throughout history. And it's almost like there's different versions of these stories that exist. And so we're kind of doing a little fact checking to see which stories have the same information and which ones have deviated from that. Because you do kind of get like this basic story from the foundations of all of these different religions that has similar connotations between them all. And I'm noticing this because I have not studied the Gnostic texts, but I have I've heard a lot similar things through other religions too that I'm noticing are matching this. So it makes you wonder like where the root is in all of this. Like how old are these texts? These ones that the Gnostic texts that these come from? Do they have any idea?
Most of them predate 325 AD, the Council of Nicaea, right?
Right.
Most of them predate that just by their nature. Some of them, it's hard to find an exact date. You get a range. Well, it's probably, 500 BC to 300
I'm just wondering
BC.
how close in relation it was to Sumeria and the Babylonians and the things that they were also their creation myths that they were saying, because some of this is also similar.
My understanding of that is when you look at the Sumerian tablets and you see the story as of kind of the solar system's creation and the seeding of our planet, you're getting the story of Yal the Boff on down in the Sumerian tablets. That's what you're getting.
I feel like I've heard it before, even though I haven't heard it before, if you know what I mean. It seems very familiar.
Yes. So, I mean, if you want to think of Yal the Boff as like an extra dimensional being or an ET or some highly ascended, extra dimensional entity, that probably fits. But as he was creating Lara, he realized, for example, when he created over here Perfect Adam, this was his first attempt at an offspring. And it's called Perfect Adam. This was Adam in a spirit body. This wasn't flesh and blood. When he created Perfect Adam, he realized how much more enlightened and smarter Adam was than he himself or anyone that he'd ever come in contact with. So there was something about Adam, and the Gnostic text goes into why Adam was so enlightened upon birth. Well, this created jealousy with Yal the Boff. Yal the Boff, he felt he was tricked into giving some of his divine essence, some of his divine source from his mother. He felt he was tricked into giving some of that to Adam. He purposely tried to withhold his essence. He wanted an automaton. He wanted someone to follow his orders without question. And here, he got this divine being that he created that was smarter than he was.
Should have made a golem.
Yeah. So in the Gnostic text, Perfect Adam gets put under some type of anesthesia, some type of energetic anesthesia by Yal the Boff. And then when Adam wakes up, now he's encased in the flesh. Now his essence has been degraded. Now he's cast down into an earthly type of dimension. And he doesn't really understand what happened or why. This is where humans get amnesia. Our story is amnesia, right? This is what is being described here.
Yeah, I think I know the rest of this story. Yes.
It's very hopeful, though, in that if you read the Gnostic texts, you see that it was the self-anointed, the self-conceived, and Eve that came down to enlighten Adam in the first place. And that was why he was smarter, because he had a download of intelligence beyond Yal the Boff. He had a download from, the Son of God himself and Eve. Eve is a big part of this. So he had the divine masculine and the divine feminine kind of unified within his own essence in a way that Yal the Boff didn't. He barely even had a mom at that point, right? So he was naturally much more gifted and talented, even in his flesh form. But we know what happened from then on. Right?
Yes. I also see that deviation to the Elohim there on the right. That's quite the flesh Elohim. What happened there?
Okay, so I guess this is timely for the holidays. The Old Testament gods are Yahweh and Elohim. Right?
Yes.
So most of the time, Elohim is listed as a plural. This resonates more like a group, the Flesh Elohim. They're sort of like Yal the Boff's assistants, angels, if you would.
Yeah.
And Yahweh was probably the most favored among them. So that's why there's two boxes. And together, these two did all the Old Testamenting. And you see kind of where they are in the hierarchy. They're flesh at this point. They're flesh. They're just more advanced than Flesh Adam and Flesh Eve. They have access to higher technology, higher understanding. And so they did all the Old Testamenting. They flooded the world and did the 10 plagues and, you know, just nuked cities from orbit. Like that's them. But we're tricked into thinking this is God, aren't we? When we read the Old Testament, we are tricked into thinking this is God. And so it limits our perceptions in this giant flowchart to just here. Right? But there's so much more.
Anytime you put a boot on somebody's neck and hold them down, they'll be like, okay, yeah, you're God, whatever you say,
right.
You know? It's like, we don't have to argue when you got your boot on our neck. Thanks. Yeah. No.
Highly recommended. There's a book in the Gnostic texts, and there's actually two books. One of them is called The Secret Gospel of John. It goes into this org chart. You get this story kind of line by line, page by page, and it's just a question and answer session. So people want to know about the creation of the universe. Read The Secret Gospel of John, where Yeshua, the teacher, comes down after the whole crucified on the cross thing. And answers John's questions, because John was getting made fun of at this time in his life. John was getting made fun of by his fellow Jews. They're saying, "Oh, where's your leader now? Oh, look, he's dead. Ha 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 ha." You know, or they were just really kind of driving a wedge into him, and so he felt down on his luck, and so he reached out in spirit, and Yeshua answered and came down and gave John all of this. Imagine getting this type of download. Like it's hard to even understand this in flowchart form. Imagine getting this kind of download in a question and answer session.
It probably took him the rest of his life and then some to unpack it.
Yeah. And it goes through it all in The Secret Gospel of John. There's another book called On the Origin of the World in the Gnostic Wisdom. And you get more of Eve's story in there and how important Eve was. And Spirit Eve, Flesh Eve, Sophia. Amazing. Sophia is the only reason why we're all still here is because Sophia realized that, whoops, my creation is out of control. I have a live one in there. I kind of messed up as a parent. I need some help, right? That's the only reason why we're still here. So anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah. Put that aside for now. So what else is new, Lara?
I was going to say, you got everybody's minds blowing. Look in the comments.
Yeah. Guys, these books are so, this isn't something you can sit and binge read. This is something you really have to sit and go page by page and ask yourself, what is this telling me? When I read this, I had to sit and I had my flow charting tool out. I had to sit and I had to really just create a box after box after box and connect the lines and what I was being told. It's not like reading, a fiction book. It's
no, it's not. No. I love that Aaron is here. We were just talking a few minutes ago about you, Aaron, and I said it'd be nice to get a feminine perspective on this on Thursday, especially in regards to Sophia, because Aaron is very connected to that Sophia energy. And it made me laugh. She goes, a woman would ask for help.
Yeah. The Gospels, I'm going to put that in quotes. People forget about some of the other Gospels, like the Gospel of Thomas, the Arabic infancy Gospel, the infancy Gospel of Thomas, these things that go through the different pieces of Yeshua's life before the drama we see in the New Testament. There's so much good reading there. Most of it is free online too, guys. Most of it is free. You can search this up and you can read a lot of this for free. So highly recommended. We can talk about why they left it out of the Bible.
They left a lot of things out of the Bible. They've edited the Bible several times. Every time there's a new edition, they change words or they omit information. I had a friend who actually studied at the Vatican as a priest. It's a long story about why he left. But he said there's a whole extra Bible that people have never read because it's under lock and key, basically. And it's very different to the version that we get to read. He learned Latin just to read it. I know, right? He still speaks Latin to me all the time. And I'm like, oh, you show off. But yeah, that is exactly why. Can you imagine having a whole different book that only priests are allowed to read, and why?
Yeah, I unfortunately can. I can imagine that. Just because knowledge is power, right? That's how Rome conquered the world, and one of their biggest tools was knowledge and withholding it.
Yeah,
and consolidating it. One of my favorite theories on the fire of the library at Alexandria is that it was a book heist.
Oh, it was definitely
one of my favorite theories.
If they couldn't steal it, they wanted you to burn it. That was, if it's not in our possession, burn it, because that is what they wanted. If there was knowledge, then it's power they either want to control or they don't want anyone else to control. So that is the problem, is that knowledge has always been power, and those who have knowledge have always hoarded it for that reason. Sometimes you do get people like Yeshua who are happy to share all of that knowledge, just because they know it betters humanity to a degree, but it also empowers humanity, and that is what they don't really want us to do. So they would rather have us arguing about things like, I don't know. I saw a video yesterday of a nun that flipped out because two girls were kissing on the side of the road. She was screaming at them and saying they're going to burn in hell and all of these things. It's a very sad video, but two people were just expressing love for each other, and she got extremely triggered. And it just makes you wonder, like, what they're doing to that degree to make people so controlled by this certain information.
I have maybe an 80% answer to that. It's not a complete answer, but I maybe have an 80% answer, if you'll allow me. I think the root problem is belief. People, I think, forget that our beliefs are constructs. They're thought forms. Our beliefs are a thing that we create to make us feel safe and to make us feel attached to other people. They are a safety mechanism, right? You feel safe when you're around people with similar beliefs. And so in a way, they're training wheels. But our beliefs are training wheels. When the universe is so much bigger than our beliefs, than any one religion's beliefs, a lot of folks aren't ready to be unplugged from that matrix. They're not ready to take their training wheels off of their beliefs yet.
Not only that, but a lot of us are still reeling from the trauma. Like, there's a couple of people saying that how emotionally triggering it is to just know about the burning of the library. And, there was this one scene. Do you remember the scene where Dolores had a past life regression and she found out that she was in the library? She talked about the hooded figure that would come in and read the scrolls. And then she couldn't read in that lifetime, but she would know what books and scrolls to bring to people. And she knew the value of that knowledge. And then when the fires, started, that was the one and only thing that Dolores cared about, was trying to save as many scrolls as possible. And what's interesting, I was chatting with a dear friend of mine who does Akashic Records reading, Adriana, and she said to me, she goes, you watched it happen. And I said, What do you mean? She goes, you were running behind Dolores carrying scrolls when you watched her get hit by the carriage.
Holy.
And when she said this, I got chills, like literally all over my entire body. And yeah, that is where Dolores and I first met. We both worked together in the library. And I watched her get hit by the carriage as the scrolls went flying. And that is why when I first heard that scene, I was inconsolable. I was sobbing. When I first read that part of the book, I was shaking when I read it. And now I know why. Thanks to Adriana. I watched it happen, unfortunately.
It'd be interesting if you had a session and went back and experienced that firsthand. You probably wouldn't want to now, but interesting life, no doubt.
Yeah. So that is another reason why I am so emotionally invested in all of this, is I too used to work in the Library of Alexandria. And yeah, it's very upsetting for a lot of people, because many of you guys were also probably there. It was almost like a university, and people from all over the world came there to study, and to not only to study, but to contribute in some way. And it was it was one of the most important jobs in ancient times, to be able to even go in there to hold that role, So it was a huge honor for us to have that role, and then to watch what happened was devastating. And many of us are still devastated to this day about it, including myself. I know, right? I know, right?
I have a theory as to, we can do a whole episode on the Library of Alexandria. But just at the time that Yeshua was alive and he was traveling with his uncle, there were so many mystery schools spread across the known world at the time. And Yeshua was one of the probably few students that had the means to go and attend all of them.
Yeah.
So he went and he attended the ones that later became universities up in England. He attended those mystery schools. He was there. He did the same thing in India, in Tibet.
Even Japan, there's stories about it. Yes. He went his way around the globe. He really did.
I haven't even gotten to that one yet, but yes.
It's one of my favorites. That's why I keep bringing it up. I love all the different versions of his stories, especially, when he goes to Tibet and he learns so much about, this is part of the reason why he became who he is. You didn't just, you weren't just born Jesus. You don't just have all of these downloads. You have to learn. You become a scholar.
Imagine being born in the Essene compound at Qumran, or having your early childhood there, which is essentially a university, one of the most advanced ones. That's how you get to age 7 or 8 or 9. You're in that environment, and then you go and you attend Egypt, and then you attend the ones in England, and you attend the ones in India. You have information in your brain at that time that other people could only dream about, right? So, and I was thinking about why none of this really made it into the Bible. And then I came across this passage on the screen. This, again, is from the legend of Saint Isa. And here, this is where Isa is the name that they give Jesus or Yeshua. So when you see Isa, that's who we're talking about in this text, right? And the Israelites came in crowds at the word of Isa, asking him where they should praise the Heavenly Father, seeing that the enemy had razed their temples to the ground and had laid low their sacred vessels. So they had just suffered something, right? And here comes the enlightened Yeshua, Isa, answering, God had not in view temples erected by the hands of man. He's not even considering it. He doesn't care. But he meant that the human heart was the true temple of God. Right? What does that sound like? Wow.
Connecting to source within the heart.
Enter into your temple, into your heart. Illumine it with good thoughts and patience and immovable confidence, which you should have in your Father. He's telling you to trust in your heart chakra, your love and source. It doesn't matter if they burn buildings to the ground. Look, this is what they couldn't risk getting out. This is one of the reasons why this was left out. This did not mesh with the Nicene Creed that believed in wizard Jesus, right? This is not that. He's saying you're supposed to have confidence in yourself and enter into your own heart. No. Roman Catholic Church was saying you're so much less advanced than this perfect wizard Jesus. Trust in the wizard. Here's that same character saying, no, trust in yourself and in your heart. How incredible is that, right? This is one reason why I think this is knowledge was not incorporated into the Council of Nicaea and therefore the Roman Catholic Church and all the Christian churches that came after it. Because they liked Wizard Jesus.
Lots of people like Wizard Jesus.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to put there's so much here, but here views about women. Listen then to what I say unto you: respect woman, for she is the mother of the universe, and all the truth of divine creation lies in her. Who is he talking about? That's Sophia.
Yep.
She's the mother of our universe. Again, we can't have that in the Bible, right? Too much respect for women and the divine feminine there. We can't have that. So, never even made it into consideration, I would imagine.
I love that next line. She is the basis of all that is good and beautiful, as she is also the germ of life and death. On her depends the whole existence of man, for she is his natural and moral support. Aha!
Right. And all of this is about woman.
Yes. Respect your mother, Aaron says. Yes, exactly. Love that.
And how true is that? I think we live in a world that's sort of overrun with the opposite. We talk about.
I was gonna say, women haven't even had rights for 100 years, if you think about it. We've had a stifling of the divine feminine for thousands of years for very good reason. They don't want us to stand in that power, so to speak, especially the ladies.
Yes, and then instead of the divine feminine, oftentimes, in my opinion, we get the misguided feminine trying to supplant the place of the divine feminine. You have this weird misguided form of feminism, and then you have this toxic masculinity. Why can't we just have divine masculine and divine feminine? Why do we need to have toxic masculine and misguided feminine? It's like we're playing these word games.
All because Yal the Boff had to have mommy issues. That's why, apparently. I guess, right? Yes.
That was very Gnostic of you, Lara.
We're in this mess. Yes, that is why. That's so funny.
Back to your earlier point, I was thinking about, I actually had a session, a QHHT session myself recently, back on December the 13th. And I'm still unpacking it, to be honest. I was under hypnosis for 3.5 hours, right? So, and that's almost a twofer, because most practitioners won't keep someone under for more than 2. Because you got to use the bathroom, right? But I was under for 3.5 hours, and there's so much there. I can't even really explain all of it, but one thing I will say is that I didn't regress to a past life. I went to this extra dimensional space, a place that before my session I thought was just a meditative construct in my head. In my head, I had this, if you could picture a floating island, and then a waterfall that was so much bigger than the island, just cascading down. And this floating island was like right here, almost right in the middle of this waterfall, right? And on this island was a compound, was a bunker of sorts. That's just a meditative construct I thought that I had in my head, but I learned under regression, no, this is an actual place. This I refer to it as the spine of the universe under regression, which blew my mind anyway. Okay. And this little bunker was a battle bunker, and in a manner of speaking, we were doing spiritual warfare there. There's a kind of a clock face ritual circle there, where you have meetings and you hold official proceedings. And then my higher self goes there, and we confer with some of the masters, Yeshua included. During this session, I learned that myself and many others, it's not just me, we're what's called divers. So if you walk forward and you look over the balcony at this place, you're watching where the waterfall is cascading down into. It's cascading down into the simulation, down into 3D. At the top of the waterfall is source. And here's this battle bunker, like right here in the middle. Okay. And so myself and a ragtag band, we'll call it, we keep diving down into the simulation to try and unplug others. But what our mission really is to change the code of the matrix. We're here to change the code. And this came through so strongly that this group of divers, myself included, we could have went up to source a while back, but we're choosing to stay down here and keep diving. But then I was thinking, well, what does that mean? What do we do? Why are we, what do we do between lives? Well, there's a job board there, Lara. There's a board with like Post-it note like jobs on it. And all these jobs are the jobs that no one else wants to do. They're hard, but we all take pride in taking a job off the board and diving into the simulation to attempt to change the code. And then once all the jobs are cleared off the board, we go through the code change. We're just being in 3D is being uplifting instead of being oppressive, right? Yeah. So every session we do, every life we live, all of us divers, that's the mission. We're trying to clear the board, Lara, and change the code. Clear the board and change the code.
Do you remember what was it? I think the higher self said what death is like in Dolores's book. They said that it's like it's like swimming, and you are in a big pond, and you know that you can dive as deep as you can, and you just go as deep, deep, deep down as you can into the darkness, into the muck and all of that at the bottom of the pond. And then you just push yourself off from the bottom and launch yourself out. And when you feel that break, when you can, when the water separates and you feel yourself like flying out of the water and taking a big, deep breath, they said that is what it's like to actually die. It's like this whole lifetime you're underwater holding your breath, not even aware of what you're actually, you got some kind of a task that you came here to do, So we take a deep, deep dive into that lifetime. And then sometimes we feel lost and confused and don't even know what is up or down. But eventually we find our way to the top, and then we feel that release, that feeling of bliss. And it's also like a feeling of, it's almost like a feeling of peace that moves across us completely. Relief.
I remember Dolores Cannon saying it's as easy as getting up out of one chair and sitting down in another. Mm-hmm. It's being born that's hard. Dying is easy.
That's true. Birth is actually very traumatic. In fact, I'm finding a lot of people with disassociations in the womb. Literally, I'm like, what are the age of the disassociations? Every once in a while, they'll be like, oh, age 0. And I'll be like, 0? Like, what do you mean age 0? And they're like, oh, trauma in the womb. And I inquired about it a little bit, and they're like, oh, yeah, being born is tough business. It is hard. It is difficult on the body. You have to, if you think about it, you have years before you're even able to express your own needs. There's a whole lot of things that occur during birth. And not only that, but one of my clients recently lost a twin in the womb. Oh, no. And you don't realize it's changed her entire life moving forward. Like literally the last 40 years, there's little things here and there that were all because of losing a twin. There was traumatic response to losing a loved one before you're even born.
Yeah.
And that trauma was really intense for them, because sometimes it even causes like, what was it? There's a syndrome they call it where it's like something twin syndrome. What is it? Oh my God.
Like missing a twin.
Yeah, but there's it's almost like when you absorb your other twin.
Oh yeah, it's like when one twin eats the other one in utero.
Yes.
Yeah. The medical name for that.
There is a huge, you become part of your twin too. Vanishing twin syndrome. That's the one. Vanishing twin syndrome. This is coming up in sessions because you don't even realize you become 2 people. When you absorb your twin, you become 2 people, and you're always confused because one part of you always wants one thing and another part of you always wants another. So becoming aware of that, one, you have the trauma of losing someone who is literally like another version of you in the womb, which is a huge trauma to contend with anyway. But then to have that confusion their whole life, because absorbing the twin means you now have the twin's energy too. So you had that split within yourself. So it's like you're always torn in your mindset between, like, one twin will like a certain guy, right? They'll be like, oh, I love this guy. This guy's great. I'm going to ask him out. And the other twin will be like, no, I don't like that. It's not my vibe. And so you're totally torn between what you want and what the twin wants. And this has blew my mind the last few days because I've been studying this. So yeah.
I had a client with this exact same thing as you described, so I can corroborate that. She felt her whole life that she was missing somebody in her life, but she didn't know who it would be. She had, a family and, parents and kids, and so she didn't know who she was missing. It turned out it was her twin that that decided to bail just before that, in utero, the twin bailed, and so there was that. And it's really shaped her life, just like you said. So I can definitely corroborate what you're saying. I've seen it in sessions.
So yeah, birth trauma is a huge thing. In fact, there's even some like psychic surgeries that some of the guides are even doing, because like that whole cranial sacral, what do you call it? The cranial something that they do, where they're basically like helping your skull to reform the way it's actually supposed to be. Like, yeah, birth is one of the most traumatic things. Coming into this planet, coming into 3D and taking a body is no joke.
Oh, right. Yeah, it is no joke. And a lot of us here are volunteers. And so, just the number of, this is the good news, I think, about existence today. In many decades past, we had a lot of native earthborns. And as Dolores talked about, as people off board or pass away now, they're taking a bench, or they're going to other places to incarnate again, while the visitors or the volunteers come in and get a shot at this life. Well, isn't that interesting that we've got so many whistleblowers now all over the place, right? These the power structures on this planet probably don't realize they're recruiting volunteers into their black projects, and they don't like it, and so they're going to blow the whistle, and so you sort of see the brilliance of that initial call, that initial SOS call that went out in the 1940s. If you guys ever read Dolores Cannon's 3 Waves of Volunteers in the New Earth, this is what is talked about there. And so, how do you run an evil empire if all the people are volunteers, starseeds and whatnot? How do you avoid having the whistle blow, right? Well, you don't.
I was gonna say, you put portals in their house and you try and get them demonically possessed. That's really what it's the only way they can really stop the ride these times. They got to play dirty.
That's where people like that. That's where people like you come in. I have one interesting story to share. I know we're running out of time, but before I went for this QHHT session, the Monday before I went for this QHHT session, I was getting home at night from martial arts, and my kids had already gone inside, and I was just unloading gear. I was, wearing my martial arts stuff, and so I went to close the trunk, and then behind me, about 6 or 7 feet, I heard this metallic clank, like something hitting the ground, and so I turned around and looked, and it was dark outside, and with the driveway light on, all you could see was the light reflecting off this coin. I'm like, oh, I must have dropped a quarter. So I go over there and I pick up this quarter that I thought was a quarter. And I look at it. I'm like, this is a funny looking quarter. This isn't a quarter at all. And so I looked around. There's nobody there. No one. I don't even have pockets. I don't have my wallet on me. And so this wasn't something I was carrying. No one was walking by. It was literally just a darkness outside, and then clink, here's this coin, just to paint the picture. And so I pick up this coin, I bring it inside. It turns out it's an Egyptian coin, right? No one's ever given me an Egyptian coin. No one stopped by my house at that particular time of night to drop it in my driveway, right? So what is this? So I asked that as one of my questions during my QHHT session, and it was, I'm supposed to seek more sessions along that line myself, because the answer given was, it's an Egyptian coin, and I verified that's true. And Egypt is a surviving colony of Atlantis. Egypt's story is Atlantis's end, and there's more there to unpack. And so it's like a little teaser. Like, how did it just leave it at that? And so I carry this coin with me now, just because it's so weird that this Egyptian coin just dropped out of nowhere.
You got a coin. I got a plastic spoon. Like, because I took a nap one day and I woke up and there was a tiny, like, literally it was a spoon that was like, it's a mini version. Like, it would be like a dollhouse spoon.
Wow.
And I found it out in front of my bedroom door and I was like, what the fuck is this? There's no reason for this being here. And Aiden never seen it before and I had never seen it before. And I just thought, well, I'm going to ask my guides about this, like, just in case, maybe they'll say something like, oh, Aiden just got it at school and dropped it, and didn't realize it, right? Something simple like that. No, it's from another dimension. You had somebody that came through a portal that came to check on you. And it was a thought form that they had because of a memory that you had that you shared. And by thinking the thought form in the astral, as they were leaving, it actually materialized as a spoon in reality. It wasn't actually, the thought form wasn't originally a spoon. They said, but it was the only way that it could manifest in a 3D reality in order to make sense.
Holy moly.
And I was like, what the fuck?
I guess in your case, there is a spoon. No one can say there is no spoon around Lara. I should be like, no, it's right here.
I know, right? There is no spoon. Oh, yeah, well, I'll show you. So I'm sitting next to my bed, and every once in a while, I meditate with my ridiculous plastic spoon because my guides told me, they're like, yeah, you actually have a connection with the person that dropped it. And I said, well, who was it? And they said, it's your daughter from another lifetime.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Right? And I was like, holy shit, I'm not asking questions anymore. Like, this is way too much for me to unpack. I'm just going to see the spoon and be like, oh, somebody dropped this. Okay. And then put it away. Because this is too much for my little human pea brain to handle. Like, freaking.
If we ever meet in person, maybe we'll do a QHHT session and we can ask about the spoon story. Could you get more details, please?
It's the weirdest thing. Like, literally, the spoon was the size of my pinky nail.
Oh my goodness.
That's how small. That's what I mean. Like, what?
Yeah, Lego spoon. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, it doesn't even make sense why it would exist. You know what I mean? Like,
who needs a spoon that small?
I know, but yours is way cooler. An Egyptian coin like that would have gotten my attention even more than the spoon for sure. Like, that was showing you got some connections to Egypt. That's your guides. They're probably feeling pretty proud of themselves that they're like, yeah, you found it. Like patting themselves on the back.
The weird thing is that I'm a skeptic, right? And so I spent a few hours trying to rationalize this. And like, someone had to be walking by. Oh, except it was almost 10 o'clock at night and nobody was. And then, someone just dropped it out of their pocket. Again, nobody was there. Well, this can't be that rare of a coin. It's an Egyptian coin, it turns out. It's not an American quarter. And so every time I tried to rationalize this, I could see my guides being like, hey, look, we got him. He's trying to rationalize it and he can't. Look at him. Look at him. He's going to spend 3 hours trying to rationalize this. And I did.
I spent a month trying to rationalize I called it a Coke spoon because that was like, why are my guys dropping a Coke spoon in my house?
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, it's funny the messages that you get. And I asked the guides, I was like, how often do things like this happen? They're like, oh, all the time. You just don't notice.
Right.
Things drop from other dimensions all the time. It happens almost every single day, they said. It's just little innocuous things like feathers and stuff that drop from other dimensions. So if you guys ever see a feather or anything else that's weird and you're like, what the fuck, where did this come from? There might be somewhere you'd be surprised.
And we live in an age where there's so many modalities. But to bring it back to Yeshua, isn't it interesting to learn that he was an SRT person himself, right? And that's not the only modality. If I could share this little screen real quick, maybe to finish up.
Well, I hate to say it. The one thing though is that as soon as the pigs died, they were released again. You don't kill demons by driving them into a body. They were literally, I mean, that was more for show than anything else, because technically it didn't kill any demons when he drove the pigs off the cliff. It just killed the pigs, and then the demons were free again to attack people. So we needed to work on that just a little bit. We got to introduce cages. We've been putting them in Irma cages. So we got to teach Jesus about the cages.
But, you know, maybe the modality has evolved since the pig throwing days.
Yeah, hopefully.
But about Yeshua himself, this is the Gospel of the Holy 12. Again, one of these books that was left out of the Bible. And I come back to this often because people have this wizard view of Jesus when, in fact, he was a multimodal practitioner. He practiced many different modalities. I just want to share this one passage with you all, I guess, to close up. And think about how many modalities are mentioned here.
Hold on, I'll hit the button. There it is. Bam.
It says, and can you see it?
It's a little small. Can we zoom in?
No, but I can read it for you.
All right, that's fine. Just read it. That's fine.
And Jesus, after that he had finished his study of the law. Oh, so he's a lawyer now. That's not really a modality, but you know, went down again into Egypt that he might learn the wisdom of the Egyptians, even as Moses did. Okay, we already talked about how he attended mystery schools, but what did he learn there? And going into the desert, he meditated, he fasted, and prayed. Interesting that he's doing both. He's praying and meditating. The church would just have you think he's just praying. And he obtained the power of the holy name, by which he wrought many miracles. And for 7 years he conversed with God face to face, and he learned the language of the birds and beasts. This is a modality called fluoropathy and faunopathy. So he's like a telepathic communication with plants and animals. How cool is that, right? They didn't really tell that in the Bible. So he's a fluoropath and a faunopath. So there's two. And the healing powers of trees and of herbs. Oh, he's an herbalist. Wow. Boy, that sounds kind of pagan, doesn't it? And of flowers and the hidden secrets of precious stones. Oh, so he's into crystals, Christology. You know, it's funny because with my own mom, we have those FU Fridays that I talk about a lot. And she's very into the traditional Christian type of stuff. And she loves anything with the blood, the blood of Christ, the blood. And you know, she considers crystals to be kind of witchy. And I said, isn't it interesting? You're the one that's talking about blood rituals, and I'm talking about a crystal.
I was gonna say you're just talking about rocks, tiny, pretty rocks, and she's talking about blood rituals. Yeah, that's the.
One of these days, I should live stream our FU Fridays. They're great. So anyway, and he learned the motions of the sun and the moon and the stars. Wait, so he's in astrology too? We're up to like 6 modalities already, guys. We're only halfway through this verse.
He was the original hippie. Loving this.
And the powers of the letters and mysteries of the square and the circle. Ooh, so he's in sacred geometry. So I think the proper term for that is geomancy. So he's into geomancy. Wow. This is probably our 7th modality. And transmutation of things and of forms.
Alchemy.
Yeah. And numbers and signs. Ooh. So that's rune casting.
And the runes, yes.
Yeah. Wow. So what is that? Like we're up to 9, maybe? It's hard to keep track. From thence he returned to Nazareth to visit his parents, and he taught there in Jerusalem as an accepted rabbi. Even in the temple, none hindering him. Oh, so this world traveler came to teach the Jewish people at the time about these other modalities? Wait a minute. That's not what we were told. Anyway. So so many different things there: rune casting, sacred geometry, fluoropathy, faunopathy, herbalism, astrology, Christology. My goodness, he did it all, right? He traveled the world and he did it all. If we could just have a little piece of that, we'd have a renaissance all over again today.
And here we are having Christians tell us that yoga and crystals and things will make you go to hell.
Yeah, right. Like, then I guess Yeshua is leading the way. You know, we'll be in good company then.
Can you imagine learning all of those things at a time when the knowledge wasn't actually being bastardized and erased intentionally? Like they were actually free knowledge in a way. Like they were happy to share it with one another. Versus a time where you get shunned how many times the church shuns people just for going a little outside the box, so to speak, you know?
Yes. I have a little more optimistic view on that, I think, these days. I feel like most of that's behind us, and I firmly believe our best days are ahead of us. Just for the volunteers being here, because they're the ones being recruited into all these power structures, you know. They needed, for lack of a better word, evil bastards to run this global nonsense empire that they've had. Little did they know that their people to choose from are probably all volunteers. And so it'll collapse from the inside eventually. So that means our best days are ahead of us, not behind us.
This was a really fun conversation, Dr. Scott. Thank you. Really, I've enjoyed this immensely, and I love the interesting new takes on the Gnostic text that I've been waiting to learn more myself. But with how crazy everything has been, you know, there's so many religions to learn. There's so many different versions of these things. So it was really nice to get a new perspective on this. So thank you for sharing that with us today.
It's been my pleasure. I always love coming on. Yeshua himself said that he came to expand the Jewish law, not to do away with it. And what he meant by that, in my opinion, is, well, what if you expanded any one of these religions to include the truth, like all the truth? All these religions are so compact and consolidated. What if we just expanded the reach of them all so that you got more of the truth in it? What a judo throw. And so I think this is where we're going. We're going into times of expansion where these rigid halls of belief are going to they're going to be a little more malleable. You see it with the Catholic Church in a way. They're hip with aliens and ETs. You know, there was a time where you get burned at the stake for that.
Well, the ones that they're in close communication with are not the ones that most people are thinking of. There's a lot of shadiness that's also going on. And many people are also wondering what those 5 portals that they're claiming to open in the next 24 hours are going to be all about. Portals to where?
It's an interesting question. But in a way, it almost doesn't matter, I think, because we sort of know how the story ends. You know, what do you do when you can't have your nefarious schemes play out the way you plan, because your only human resources is volunteers? You know? They'll only go along with your stuff for so long until they themselves start blowing the whistle. So
that is very true. A couple people are asking for some links, Dr. Scott. Is there any way that we could get you to post some today for some resources for people, and then I'll share it on my wall, and then we can get some people some more resources for learning these interesting topics.
If you click on our private chat, Lara, I put some links in there for you.
Oh, look at that. Okay. Perfect.
If you guys wouldn't mind, I would love for you all to check out all these links, first of all. But I just put out a video with the latest in my web series called Heath's Regression. And it deals with this particular client's life review. I thought you guys would find this interesting. This is a former combat veteran himself. And so he had an incredible life in the prior episodes, and his life review is just as incredible. So please go ahead and check that out. Let me know what you think.
Separating the links here. It all got copied into one really long thing, like with no breaks in it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did that. I thought that'd make it
no,
easier.
it wasn't that. It's the way that StreamYard does it. So I'm hoping that there we go. Hope I'm splitting this properly here. Because it's just copying like one solid paragraph, the whole thing. And there we go. Hopefully that worked properly. Comments there.
Yeah, if people would check that out. I've been taking a content creation and AI course, so I'm trying to up my video editing skills. This represents my best video editing attempt so far.
No, that didn't work. Let me copy these individually. That's funny. No, it just did all one big paragraph.
I'll put them in there. I'll cut and paste them. Let's see. Here is.
I will also share them on my wall. I'll share them for those of you. If you just look at my wall shortly, we can share some of the links as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Here we go. There's one. There's Matrix Hypnosis. Make sure that you guys check out Matrix Hypnosis. Here is the link for the Starverse one.
Yeah, we love Astara. Astara.
We are so happy to have you join us. We love your talks on there, Dr. Scott. Thank you for everything that you've been doing for our Astara network. There we go. There's all the links, everybody. Thank you so much, Dr. Scott, especially for spending, Christmas Eve with us. It was really nice to see you and to have this little chat about history.
Like it was my pleasure. Happy to come on anytime, Lara. I hope all of you get time to recharge your batteries during the end of the year. Whether you're celebrating or not, take some time for yourself and recharge. And we'll see you in 2025.
I love you all. Have the most wonderful day, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Have a great Christmas. Love you guys. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.